Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News with massive VCT matches coming up this weekend. FNS has given his opinion on the playoffs format which is going to be happening around the world. Not a particularly happy man with the way this is going to be done. Elimination games first of all, meaning the #1 seed in the respective groups is massively important. Sintils, despite arguably still being the best team in the Americas and in the world, not in prime position to secure it right now. What could that mean for the future? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Firstly, this from Hazed thought was kind of cool because, well, he stepped away from competing. Of course, former TSM man and elsewhere, NRG and other organizations. He says, I could feel my time as a competitor coming to an end. But what he is looking for is to make a comeback as a coach. So as he says, I refrain from getting all sappy about it, but I learned a lot about myself and what it is I really want. If any teams are out there looking for a coach, DM me directly or via mutuals. And, you know, some cool respect I thought here from Zelsit and from others to Hazed as a player in his career. And Zel's like, look, just come back anywhere, NA needs you. Other players are in the reply saying, look, you should just play again, like, you're good enough to do it. But as Ethan says also from NRG, my earliest memories from CS, the most enjoyable from VALORANT, were with you. So nice to see, and would be cool to have Hazed back in the scene as a coach somewhere. I think that'll make a fair bit of sense. Now, speaking of some of the coaching decisions, we got to talk about the Heretics and how things have been going over here, because Woot is finally gonna be out there, baby. It's taken a while for him to get his visa sorted, but he will be available in time for the next game. The thing is, for Heretics, they have had quite the fall off, and they got pretty emphatically defeated by BBL yesterday. They went from being the second best team in EMEA not long ago, and as I said a couple of days ago, does tend to be a bit of a trend that teams in certain regions that tend to do well at the start of the season, that is not necessarily so easy to maintain. And now we're seeing, you know, Na'Vi and Fnatic, it seems, get back to a little bit of form and maybe, you know, re-establish themselves as what potentially should be the best teams in EMEA. Still think it's a very competitive region, but Heretics going down yesterday was pretty bad. Nilzinho says shambolic display from us, struggling a little now, but you know, thanks to Patty Tech. And to be fair, they've been through the ringer a little bit, Heretics, because they haven't had the roster they wanted, they couldn't get the players they wanted, they've been messing around with different players. Miniboo had an uncharacteristically poor series here on the Raze and the Neon, but yeah, fair play to BBL. Honestly, the Turkish scene right now is looking in a pretty nice spot. For esports are nice, and BBL, they're not far behind. 13-7 on the split, and then on a Heretics pick, it was still 13-10 to BBL, so congrats to those guys. But it has been a dramatic few weeks for Heretics, and they will be making the change. Patty Tech is gone, Woot's back in, and yeah, that's going to be their plan going forward. Whether it's going to massively move the needle, that's a bit of a question, but yeah, as usual, Heretics give the full update on that. The other game in EMEA yesterday was Vitality versus FUT Esports. So yeah, we talk about the Turkish scene being nice, but it is a competitive region, yeah. Like, even though Heretics have gone down, I mean, Carmine Corp have fallen off a little bit from where they were, man, EMEA is still so hard to predict some of these games. So Vitality get the win yesterday against FUT Esports. Ascent went 13-7 to them on their pick. They then bounced back on the Icebox. The decider was a Sunset, and that was 39 as well. So Vitality are looking nice. I just love to see this, like, Vitality versus Liquid is going to be interesting to me because, you know, Safe was on that team, now he's joined these guys, seems to have made a big difference as far as I'm concerned to their performance. But Trex did well as well, and CNED, well, there was some discussion around him. So let me share a couple of clips for you guys on this series, but also this here from Steel. Now, yesterday we talked about the fact that Steel has a bit of drama and beef with Ye. We know this to be true from their DSG days, after the fact when, you know, their comms, let's say, were leaked at times during practice, and there were questions as to whether Ye was being the best teammate. Steel certainly raised that concern. After all the drama happened and everyone was dropped and DSG kind of faded away, okay, now they are the academy team for the Bleed Esports roster over in the Pacific, and that's what, you know, Disguised Toast has decided to do, which is honestly fair enough given the disaster and the absolute shambles that last year was in the Americas. But there was all this drama, and Steel obviously made it clear, well, Ye made it clear on stream that he didn't feel like he was the problem. He felt like he couldn't do everything himself. He felt like, you know, sure, the team wasn't great, I was part of that, but effectively my teammates let me down was the implication at times. Still wasn't happy with that implication. He felt like Ye was, you know, part of the problem, if not the main problem. He had some interesting conversations on Twitter about it, and still this guy's going off. So I thought it was incredible to kind of, you know, not sabotage precisely, but he was talking about seeded on the duelist, and he manages to make the whole thing about Bleed, make some phenomenal puns, actually very entertaining, but you also got to think that, you know, maybe somebody is living rent-free at the moment.
He gets happy watching you bleed. He's scary. Dare I even say, he's a crazy guy. But do you see an ego on him? Or is he happy? Is he a happy guy that shouts, "Yay! We won!" after a big round? CNED's been looking so good since the down stint on Na'Vi, but he's getting back into form. And Foot can be real contenders for the rest of this year.
Yay! No? Yay, that was
Wondered-
It's just yet at least. 3 versus 3, and BBL have got great tools for this. Neural Theft will be dropped straight out of the rip. Wingman.
And they're
heading in
rezzing,
the
it's over.
direction, and Elite is keeping that gun handy.
They res them.
Back into life
They
for
couldn't
her,
let
giving
them res.
BBL numbers advantage, and this surely should be the end of Heretics. Surely this is BBL showing supremacy and winning their match against the favored.
13-10 and a 2-0 here for BBL
Masterclass
in
game.
week
Masterclass
three. A
game from this
turnaround
team,
that we didn't
BBL.
expect based
That
off
was
the way
someone.
that
That was some
Heretics
really good
has been
Valorant play from
showing up.
BBL. A
Absolutely not.
huge step up from the other
The
games.
theme of Heretics has been up and up and up. And we saw the match against Vitality. We saw, okay, that's probably a fluke beat. Vitality played an excellent game. Let's talk about Vitality's playing up against Foot right after this. But still, we thought that was it. They can bounce back, no problem, but apparently they cannot. There are some issues.
Both
here,
maps,
and they can't bring all their players
Heretics started up
alive,
5-0.
but BBL, you can be happy about this one. This is their
I'm pretty sure the first games of playoffs are single elim. Yeah, see, that's why this seeding is so important. You don't want to be in that group of teams. Knockout round. You do not want to be here at all. And whoever wins here makes it. If Lev Loud end up playing against each other, or like, I don't know if it's even possible, but if you end up playing like a team that can actually beat you, even if it's like 100 Thieves or Cloud9, you could just be out if you're Lev or Loud or NRG or whatever, you know? So yeah, this is a bad format, I would say, but at least they're rewarding the number 1, 2 seeds. I mean, I don't know. I don't like knockout rounds in the first game. It just don't make no sense to me. Because you could have had a great season, you could have played really well, you get to playoffs, you play one game, you lose, you're out. It's just not ideal. Well, I just wish they did a regular bracket. And if you place well in the season, then you get veto advantage. 4-team playoff, double elim, 4-team playoff, would that work? Then the season would matter a lot. Low-key, I'd be down. Nah, because you'd want to watch more teams play. You would get the highest quality Valorant, though.
But what of the future for Yay? Obviously, we talked about some of that drama yesterday because Steel had basically said, look, don't let this guy come back to Tier 2 in America because he'll ruin the teams. So, yeah, I mean, that story continues. This was even tweeted yesterday by Bleed. Tag that one teammate. And, you know, here we are with a raise, and then the rest of the team doing kind of well. So, you know, this wasn't targeted at Yay precisely, but it's like just an interesting time to tweet this just because, you know, Ye's been struggling on the raise, and then you get this tweet from their own organization, then they deleted it. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily help the criticism of Ye. I will say, like, do you guys feel bad for Ye or not? You can certainly see it from both angles, because I do feel bad for, like, the trajectory of his career. The fact that, like, Optic didn't make franchising, then he ends up on Cloud9, that doesn't work out, and maybe that would have worked out in due course, but, you know, we're pretty sure the money had something to do with it. But I guess in the most recent couple of months, there's questions the fact that, look, he joined Bleed because they were offering him a mega bag. Like, we think that he probably had other offers, so he could have taken them, but I guess he felt like the Bleed Esports offer was, you know, too good to refuse, which is fair enough, but still, you know, you're getting paid mega money, you're underperforming, you know, that's not necessarily the community's fault, right? So, you know, I think it's unfortunate for Ye, but I know that some people have different opinions on how much sympathy they would give him at the moment, shall we say. But also I did want to mention, of course, what FNS said about the playoff situations. Now, what I will say is that fundamentally this is a problem with having a weird number of teams. Like, 10 is already a strange number. When you get to 12, it gets slightly better, but really you want to get to like 16. But I don't think the leagues are ever going to get to 16. You want it to be a power of 2, because power of 2, it always works better. Like, brackets always work better. Groups always work better when you're dealing with a power of 2. So 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, You can't really do more than that. But the way the league is going to run is we've got 10 teams this year. Well, it's 10 teams last year, 11 teams this year. Then it's going to be 12, 13, 14. And then I'm pretty sure it's going to max out at 14. So there's a few years of Ascension teams making it through. And then based on the fact that they stay for 2 years, I think eventually it's going to be capped at 14. That was the announcement for Riot so far. And 14 still not a great number, really. But 11 is pretty bad because you've got, 5 in one group, 6 in the other group. It's kind of ugly. But what it does mean is, let's say, as it stands, you get, and even when if it was 12 teams, or if it was 13 or 14 teams, they might do the same thing where, and maybe with 14 teams, or even with 13, you could potentially do 4 from a group, and therefore you could get 8 teams to the playoffs. I think that would be the ideal. But the way they're doing it is, of course, out of the 11, they're going to have 6 teams to the playoffs. But a 6-team bracket doesn't really work because you get stuff like this, where the number 1 seeds advance, seed 1, seed 2, which I'm guessing are going to just be the number 1 seeds from the respective groups, whoever has the better records. And then the other guys get put straight into a knockout round. And I do agree with FNS that like a complete knockout game as your first game of the playoffs is a pretty big deal. And there will be teams, C3, 6, 4, 5 or whatever, that are from further down that are going to be like mega good teams. So, it's really plausible that we get Sen Loud, Sen Lev, NRG Loud, NRG Lev, some sort of game like that in this stage. Teams that arguably could well be top 3 in the Americas and should go to Shanghai, but they're going to get knocked out early on. Just because, well, I think fundamentally it's probably because there aren't enough games here being played in the regular season to really determine who actually are the better teams. And just because Sentinels, the fact that they lost the other day to Lev, that puts them in an interesting spot. Now, Sen shouldn't have too much difficulty with MIBR, with Evil Geniuses, probably with Furia. So they should be in a position to make it to the playoffs, but they will probably not be the number 1 seed because NRG are looking very good right now to, potentially secure that number 1 seed. It's also very important in Group Omega as well to get this bye, because once you get the bye to the upper semi-finals, you've got a couple of chances, then that's double elimination. But for the other teams, it's effectively a single elim start to the tournament, which I'm not necessarily sure is a good idea. But, that's how Riot do things. I don't expect that to be changing, to be perfectly honest with you, anytime soon. So very much intrigued your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. And just as we conclude the video, Trace Esports are playing Wolves right now, and it's currently 11-3 in their favour on Wolves' map pick. So very much intrigued your thoughts. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.